Hey guys, welcome to another Six Sages Gaming Deck Spotlight. I hope you guys are ready to heat things up. Mono Fire is here to stay. We've seen a couple different variations of it, and you know what? It's going to be all throughout Opus 2. There's just too many things that this deck can do to punish your opponent and be extremely, extremely aggressive. So if you're looking for the deck that's going to keep a lot of other decks in the meta in check and not letting people do these crazy combo decks or stall out for too long, Mono Fire is absolutely the place you want to be. So first we're going to talk about the forwards, then talk about the summons, and then wrap it up with the backups. So let's do it. So starting things off, we have a little Palom, and this is a card that I absolutely wrote off early, but this is the type of deck that really makes it shine. Now this is really just obviously in here to put into the 3-drop, but with how much ping effects that this deck has, it's not that hard to get off its effect. Maybe you play Firion first, you deal 6,000 or something. Maybe you combo with Fusoya. There's a lot of different things that you can do. And you can set up a turn where you use another effect, attack, kill one of their guys, bring in the other 3-drop, pull them, and blast something else for 7,000 damage. So I absolutely love this card in the red deck. Has been a lot better than I thought it was going to be, and can really just help you get in those incremental pings worth of damage and combos very, very well with Rosso, which we'll talk about in a minute. Then there's 3 of Emperor Phantom. This is just, I think technically the strongest 2-drop in red now, if I'm not mistaken. Effectively, it's going to be a 2-drop 8K in this deck, and anytime that we have this beefy body on a 2-drop, we can just punish our opponent or make them think about how they're curving out their forwards differently. And maybe they have to play a little bit under the power curve, so then it just falls into this Palom Rosso trick, rather. Sadly, we don't have the other half of the Wonder Twins, but there's a lot of different ways we can then punish our opponent for not having multiple forwards out. Moving into 3-drops, which I am very happy to see back, even though we are lacking the backup. 2 of Lann, just a great card. It gets through for points of damage. Not much more needs to be said about this card given past videos. And then we have the 3-drop Palom. So again, comes in the field, deals 7,000 damage something. Now, I know what you're thinking. It's not that exciting of a card itself. It's still only a 6K body, hopefully a 7K if we have the backup, but it does still kind of go with the other parts of our deck because, as you'll see later, we are playing 3 Black Mage for how important it is. So Palom is hopefully going to play out the course of the game where it's going to kill 2 things, and then in combination with your backup or other resources, you're going to be able to kill a 3rd thing. So this is a very tempo-driven red deck that just has a lot of ways to ping and remove your opponent's board. Now, again, if they're playing Minwu or an effect like that, you might have a little bit of trouble with it, but against the rest of the meta, it is just a very strong effect to have. Another card that I was completely wrong about until testing, because, okay, a 3-drop 5K is not that exciting in terms of being able to push through for points of damage. You know, at best it's a 3-drop 6K, but what this card does is allow you to be a bully with it. So again, in this case, let's assume that he's a 6K or you have some other effects. They're going to have to deal double the damage to kill him, and that's just an absurd amount of points. So what this does is you get to attack. They have to block with something absurdly big, or maybe they have an Odin. They have to answer it outside of combat, really. And if they block, you're a red deck. You have like 12 or 15 different things in your deck that you can use to do damage after combat, or maybe you have a pump trick. There's a lot of different shenanigans that you can have. And guess what? You're either getting to remove something that they have, which, again, combos very, very well with Palom, if you remember, because if this gets a plus 1,000 power, hit at 6, and then Palom will hit something for 8K, that's killing a lot of stuff in this game. And chances are you're going to be able to kill something that's a 7K after you get off the Rosso and Palom trick. So, man, this is just an aggressive card that I'm not necessarily a fire mage or a fire element player in this game, but man, this is a card that just gave me an absolute headache and was very difficult to remove. And again, with all the different ping effects that we're playing in this deck, it is absolutely insane. Rubicante, and I know this card confuses a lot of people. They're saying, why would I want to activate their forwards? Why would I want to give them more blockers? Okay, so here's the thing. You either attack with him first, and all their stuff's already active, or you're not attacking with anything else, and then you have potentially a 10K that turns out that's still very difficult to beat in combat, or you just attack that last and they're forced to lose whatever they're blocking with. And his barrier shift isn't something that will necessarily come up a lot, but it is a very good effect too. So Rubicante is really just in here as a great value beater that has a special that can help swing the game in your favor. But again, 10k body, whew, that's pretty nasty to deal with. Then we have 3 Firion, the ping version. Again, as you kind of notice, this whole theme of this deck is being able to get in those little incremental points of damage every now and again. Maybe we needed something else to finish off with Palom. So again, we can play Firion before combat. They have a 6,000 on the board. Go to attack with Palom, deal 6,000, break that thing, bring in the other Palom, deal 7k to something else. It's pretty spicy. So Palom doesn't necessarily get a lot of love from a lot of the other decks or the other setups that you can have, but in Mono Fire, he at least has a home. So Firion is really here to help clean up damage through either Palom effects or combination with Rosso. Then we're dealing potentially 9 or even 10k to something. So just a mandatory ping effect that goes in the deck. Then we have 3 Tifa, just a great card. We're playing the Zangan backup, so it's potentially a 9k with haste for 4, so huge plus there. Water Kick, obviously dealing 6,000 or something. Beating a dead horse here, but combos very well with Palom. I hope you're getting that general point of this deck now. And then again, just removing one of their blockers so you can get through more points of damage is always great. We are also playing 2 of the 5-drop, which again, if we sometimes just need to push through for points of damage, she's what really comes down, and either whenever she attacks, she gets to nullify a blocker, or you can use her special and then all 4 that cost 3 or less cannot block this turn. So again, you can kind of swarm the field, use that effect, and get in all the last points of damage that you need. But really, I think we all know who the real point of this deck is. The Emperor is just such a nasty card. Now, multiple decks have already proven that we can just completely ignore the first line of text in the sense that you can play this card in a 2-element deck. Yes, you're going to be limited towards mostly fire cards, but it's fairly easy to play this still in a 2-element deck. That said, playing it in Mono Fire gives you the most options in terms of what you're discarding, and it makes it the easiest to pay. There's only 1 card in this entire deck that can't pay towards it, so you have a lot easier time to cast it. 5-drop 9k, again, becomes a 10k. Whenever he attacks, you get to deal 5,000 damage to something. So again, if you play the Firion before combat, or if you play Palom, or if you use a Ifrit or something, he's going to kill something when he attacks. There's just too much in this deck that doesn't say, hey, I'm killing your best guy whenever this guy attacks, assuming you have other cards in your hand. And then lastly, when he leaves the field, he's going to deal 9,000 damage or something. So this guy is just a bully. So he's going to be the best attacker in your deck already. He's going to be most of the time at 10k, which is just absurd. And he's going to be taking their best guy with them when they try to remove him. So this is absolutely the card that's going to be keeping Mono Fire relevant this entire meta. If you haven't already, I very strongly recommend picking up 3 of this card, and maybe even foil, because this is an effect that I would imagine is going to be good for a few sets. It's just too, dare I say, too good of a fire card that they tried to give it a drawback, and I honestly don't think it's enough of a drawback for what they were trying to do. Card's insane, can go in multiple decks, and it doesn't have to be just Mono Fire, so absolutely play 3. Moving to our summons, 2 of Ifrit. It's an EX burst, and again, it deals 6,000 for 2, so it combos very well with all the other wonderful effects that we just mentioned. 2 of Belias. This is a card that I'm pretty sure every red player ever, or even decks that are playing fire and another element, are saying that anytime it's going to replace itself, it's fine, and then it gets plus 1,000 and first strike. Haste not always being relevant there, but plus 1,000 power and first strike is often enough to be a blowout, and you get to draw a card, so you basically just get to get your opponent down a card, down a forward, I should say, specifically, and you're drawing a card replacing this one. I am all for that kind of value. And then for our last one, we are playing 3 of Big Daddy Bahamut. Now, this is a card that disappeared for a week. I was kind of surprised, but it's back again to being an absolute 3 of staple. Golbez is back. If you guys haven't seen the results already, Golbez is just here to stay. No one should really be surprised. It was like our #1 deck that was going to still be relevant after the set drops, but it's only getting better. And then Renoa, surprisingly, or unsurprisingly, I guess, if you love Ice, is also just a really nasty card. And Bahamut deals with both of these by just saying they get removed from the game, they don't get there, go to the breakstone effects. So another card that I just have to say, as long as Golbez is around, maybe there's some other random case where he's not in the meta maybe we don't see Renoa, then you don't have to play 3 of these, but if your meta has Ice specifically, or if it has Golbez, you need 3 of these cards. So I think the first couple weeks of the Japan meta proved to us that it is more of a meta call, but I would argue that there is going to be enough of it around where the meta call says play 3 everywhere. Now wrapping up with our backups, 3 of Evoker, as you just saw that we play a very expensive Bahamut, so we need to get to 5 backups as soon as possible, and you want to see at least 1 Evoker in a game. 1 of Selfie, attacking forward gains plus 2,000 power until end of turn. Amazing with Rosso, amazing with some of the other 4s that we want to get through with a little bit more point of damage we've already mentioned. 2 of Red Mage, these are always just like a 2 to 3 of staple in all red decks, making something unable to block, especially when you combo this with Tifa, can really start to be annoying for your opponent. 2 of Summoner, a card that has been pretty interesting. Again, this deck does feature a lot of backups that break themselves. That's another reason why we're playing 3 Evokers. Anytime you're playing a deck that has a lot of backups that want to break themselves, like the Ice deck that we talked about last week, play the 1-drops. It'll help your game out so much. Summoner for 4 takes damage, it deals that much plus 1,000 instead. So again, this does kind of help us get around Minwu in the sense that it just deals the extra damage. So very important point there. 3 of Black Mage. This should be no surprise. This deck, again, focuses a lot on being able to have those different ping effects or being able to add up this incremental damage. Black Mage is great at what it does. It's an early 2-drop, so you can play it on turn 1. It only costs 1 in itself to break it, deal 4,000 damage. So, again, especially if your opponent has 6 and 7 Ks on the field, you can combo this with Palom and just absolutely blow them out. A 1 of Fusoya, this should be no surprise. Again, the meta is coming out to either playing this, you're playing Azemus, or you're playing some combination of the Emperor and or Sephiroth. If you have Chaos, for example. There's a lot of, and I'm so happy to see it, there's a lot of different, now you must play them light and dark cards that are so easy to be splashed. And again, you can't run multiple of them because you can't discard it for crystal points. So that is what the limiting factor is. But ultimately, card is too good not to run. You deal 7,000, again, it goes with so many of the other effects we've already mentioned, and it is easily just a great way to remove your opponent's forwards. Now again, that is the 1 card that doesn't pay for the Emperor in our deck, so it does hurt a little bit, but I think we're going to be okay with that. A 2 of the power buffing backup. Again, if you're playing a mono element deck, or at least you're constructing your deck to have mostly 1 element and supported by another, play 2 to 3 of this backup. If you're playing ice or water, you better run 3 because those are lower power to curve ratio, so you just have to have those every turn. Or every game rather, where fire can kind of get away with it at least. But as I said jokingly in a post, and which is actually kind of accurate, 8,000 is 9,000 is the new 8,000. So a lot of forwards hit that 9K power very easily now and need to be kept in check by having these power backups. And then lastly, just for great value, we have 3 of Xande. Now this card, again, it's just going to be able to generate value for us. It's going to have be able to give Tifa haste, the 4-drop Tifa haste I should specify, and allows us to, if we take a point of damage by saying, especially if we hit Fusoya, hit this as an EX burst, we just get to get that incremental card advantage, which is always a great thing. So that's the video, guys. Mono Fire is here to stay. If you haven't already, please pick up some of the cards that I've mentioned in this video. They're only going to get better as sets come out, and I think Emperor is certainly going to be having an impact over this entire meta. Now that said, I do strongly believe that Mono Fire might evolve into a Fire Splash Lightning build, for example. We've seen in the previous meta where Fire Ice was kind of this big thing, where it was mostly, they did both versions, it was mostly Fire with Ice support, or it was mostly Ice with Fire support in the form of Bahamut. So Mono Red's here to stay. It's probably a fine deck. It's probably going to evolve as well into the duo colored element, and I'm so excited to see what else that this deck is going to breed. So thank you very much for watching, guys. Hope you liked the video. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that great stuff. We sincerely appreciate the love and support, and we do hope you'll try this deck out at your local metas. It is absolutely insane, and it will turn up the heat for you guys. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll catch you on the next 6 Sages Gaming Deck Spotlight. Have a good one.